Welcome to Friends of the Fog, a production of The Fog and the Whirlwind. I'm Josh, your host, and joining me today is Samuel the Gunsmith. Wanted to bring him on to talk to you guys about some of the things that are going on regarding gun rights. It's an issue that's taken a back seat for a while. A lot of people are talking about immigration and spending cuts and Doge and everything going on between Trump and Elon, the riots going on in Los Angeles, and other things like that, especially Iran and the Middle East. But the back seat, there in the back seat, is the Second Amendment. That's not how it should be. It was very important, especially during everything going on with COVID-19, that the American people had a right to defend themselves. It was a big reason why the government crackdown only came so far, because of an armed populace, people who were able to stand up for themselves. And the unfortunate thing about it is because it's taken so much of a back seat, unfortunately, the Republican Party especially is all on defense. It's time for us to go on offense and actually start doing something, making sure that we all have the right to defend ourselves, especially in an increasingly dangerous country. That's something that the Los Angeles riots have shown, is that it's important that you're able to defend yourself, which is what the founders intended whenever they put the Second Amendment in our Bill of Rights. Joining me today, back on the program, he's been here before, is Samuel. Welcome back, man.
Hey, what's up?
So I wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about the big, beautiful bill, the one big, beautiful bill. As we were talking about a little bit in the prep for today's episode, there is some of this bill that talks about the NFA, and you were just talking about how the Senate has rejected some of the spending cuts. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so the first one was the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act. That one passed first. What that does is it deregulates silencers, suppressors, whichever terminology you want to refer to them, takes them off the NFA. What that means is you can walk into your gun store, pick out a suppressor for whatever gun. You can pick out multiple ones, do a 4473 like you do with every normal gun purchase, and you walk out the door as soon as you get the approval. It prevents the... Basically, without it, it's an NFA item. So you have to pay $200 extra to the ATF. It's called a tax stamp, but it's really a donation to the ATF. That money goes directly to the ATF. It doesn't go to any other branch, doesn't go to any like normal taxes. It goes straight to the ATF to do with whatever they feel like. Then you got a 9 to 12 month on average waiting period. Now, there's some people that from certain states have been waiting for multiple years before they get their approval to own a suppressor, which if you look at the prices of suppressors, they're kind of expensive already depending on which one you're going to get. You're looking at a good one is around $800 to like $1,500 depending on the brand. So you're adding another $200 to that. Plus, you're having to wait 9 to 12 months on average. Usually, you're waiting more than a year to be able to actually go and pick one up. So, a gun store has to hold that. You have to, and the other thing people don't realize, you have to turn over your fingerprints. You have to turn over your passport picture. And you basically are giving the ATF the right to show up at your door without a warrant, without telling you they're coming, to do a search on your premises, whether they approve you or not. And that's on file forever. Those that fingerprint card, that photo ID, that the paperwork and everything for the Form 1, that stays in the ATF forever. So they can raid your house. They can show up at your door whenever they feel like it. Same thing with the SHORE Act, which is stop harassment of rifle owners? Yeah, Stop Harassing Owners of Rifles Today Act. That's what SHORT stands for. It's the same thing, except instead of a suppressor, it's a rifle upper with a barrel shorter than 60 inches. So it could be 13.5, it could be 14, it could be 15. Somehow, arbitrarily in the 1930s, Congress said 16 inches, that's legal. Go to your gun store, fill out a 4473, walk out same day with it, depending on if you get approved. Somehow an inch below that and further somehow is concealable to the point where it's not a rifle. That was illegal. That's what the NFA was passed in 1930 in response to gangland violence in Chicago, New York, New Jersey, It really came out after the Chicago Valentine's Day massacre with Al Capone's big move against the other organized crime families. They used short-barreled Thompson submachine guns. So the ATF, the NFA was passed to regulate those things. Then they added suppressors to it because originally it came out it was just about machine guns. It was about submachine guns and machine guns. Then they added short-barreled rifles to it. They added short-barreled shotguns to it, which that's what caused Ruby Ridge. They told the guy was a gunsmith. The guy that owned Ruby Ridge was a gunsmith. 2 undercover ATF agents show up at his shop. They basically berate him and pressure him into cutting down a shotgun to, I can't remember what that, I think it went from the 16-inch standard to he cut it down to like 10 and a half or something like that. Then the FBI, HRT, which is hostage rescue, no idea why they were on that mission with the ATF to begin with. That's not their mission. That's not what they're there for. That's not what HRT is supposed to do. ATF show up on his property, kill his dog. Then they shoot the son because he was going to shoot at them because you got guys in black on your property who just killed your dog. So they kill his son. They ended up in an armed standoff. Wife walks out on the, front porch with a baby. They shoot her. Nothing ever happened about that. But yeah, that's your NFA. That's what encompasses the NFA. They added all that stuff to it over the years. Congress can stop it. They can vote to repeal it. They will not. We've been debating this for over 30 years, basically, as Second Amendment stuff. So they're finally putting acts in, the HPA and the Short Act, which are basically deregulating short barrel rifles and suppressors. So you can go into your gun store, buy them like normal, pass a background check, it's yours. You're not having to pay an extra $200. You're not having to wait over a year to get approval. You're basically not surrendering your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. Because that's what people don't realize. Not only is the NFA a violation of the Second Amendment, but having to go through the Form 1 paperwork with the ATF surrenders your Fourth and Fifth rights. Mainly your Fourth, but it can impede your Fifth Amendment because there's been cases in court where they've used your Form 1 paperwork against you and basically said you can't invoke Fifth Amendment right to not self-incriminate because they're like, well, you signed the Form 1 paperwork. We have your paperwork, so you're guilty of owning this item. We know you have this item. You can't use the Fifth against whatever. But the main thing is the Fourth. They're violating the Second, and then they take away your Fourth Amendment rights because they don't need anything to basically go and take it. And that's what they were trying to add the FTRs, the force reset triggers. They were trying to add those to the NFA about 2-3 years ago during COVID, which basically an FDR mimics a full auto sear. It basically allows the gun to shoot multiple rounds faster than just bang, reset, bang, reset. They were trying to add those to the NFA. That never passed, thankfully. But
Why?
there's been... Well, because for one, only like one bill was submitted with FTRs listed on it, and Congress turned that bill down because the ATF could not prove that the force reset triggers were actually making machine guns. But they also got caught with their hands in the cookie jar because there's a case actually from Tennessee where the ATF showed up to a gun store and basically demanded access to the 4473 paperwork without a warrant, looking for short barrel rifles, looking for FTRs. There's been a case in our state, down either in Charleston or Columbia, 3 armed body armor, level 4 plates, full kit, showed up at this guy's house looking for his FTR. He had bought a rare breed forced reset trigger for his AR, and I think it had been like 4 months since he bought it, and they showed up at his house like, we know you have this. There's the door. This is why everybody should have a doorbell camera at this point. He released, you can find it on YouTube, he released the footage of his doorbell camera of them banging on his door, and when he asked who they were, they're like, we're the ATF. We know you just bought a rare breed forced reset trigger. We're here to take your trigger. If you do not give us your trigger, you're going to jail. They did not have a warrant. FTRs are not illegal. He did not violate any NFA rules. He did not violate any other ATF things. He did not break any rules of owning a trigger.
So they're basically just trying to intimidate him, is what it sounds like. It sounds like he was not
Yeah.
breaking the law, but they were trying to make it sound like he was and intimidate him, and it doesn't sound like it worked, correct?